The first season of Andor was a miracle. It released at a time when interest in the overall Star Wars franchise was fairly low, but I feel the need to emphasize that it was not brilliant just because its competition wasn't very good, it was just brilliant in general. And thankfully, Season 2 continues this brilliance. Now, the first season had 4 main arcs, all of which took place in BBY 5. The number represents the amount of years before the Battle of Yavin. Season 2 is also split into 4 main arcs, with a 1-year time jump between each one. BBY 4 begins with Cassian on an undercover mission to steal a TIE Avenger, showing that he has fully enlisted in the cause. After successfully stealing the starfighter, Cassian is supposed to meet someone by the name of Porco, but instead finds himself caught between inexperienced rebels who believe he is an Imperial pilot. The group later splits into 2 opposing teams, delaying Cassian further. Whilst this is going on, the wedding of Mon Mothma's daughter is taking place, and there is an Imperial search on the farming planet where Bix, Brasso and Wilman are hiding. Eventually, Cassian finds a good opportunity to escape, and after speaking with Kleya, makes his way over to the farming planet. The remainder of this episode alternates between all the trouble on that planet and how Mon Mothma is coping at the wedding. The wedding itself is happening because despite disliking him, she needs the groom's father to cover up her finances. Her daughter has no respect for her. Her close friend turns out to be a lot more selfish than anyone realised, and as a result, Luthen wants him killed. The second Luthen implies this to her, an upbeat electronic track begins to play.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
How nice for you.
The planet Neomos is essentially the Miami of the Star Wars universe, and it has birthed a fantastic galactic hit with multiple remixes. The Galaxy Mix is just the coolest party song ever. The Molana Club Mix is a more reverbed version, and the Coruscant Lounge Mix is a completely chill track. The Chandrillan Club Mix on the other hand just goes pure rave mode. All 4 versions of this song are fantastic in their own way, but despite the mostly upbeat tone, from my point of view, they all share a similar theme of escapism. Cassian entering the club on Molana 1 is him turning away from the truth, that no matter how much time he spends searching, he will never find his sister. The Galaxy Mix plays when Cassian is attempting to hide from the Empire, not yet realising that they have already infected every corner of the galaxy. The Coruscant Lounge Mix plays at one of Mon Mothma's gatherings, all of which she has to put on a mask for. It also later plays in an elevator before Kleya makes a tough decision. And finally, the Chandrillan Club Mix plays when all the individual stresses for Mon have piled up, in addition to the threat of the Empire and all the damage they have already caused. So for now, getting drunk, dancing, and escaping this nightmare is all she wants to do. Back on the farming planet, the Imperials have cornered our heroes. Brasso seizes an opportunity to get out, and as he drives away, the stormtroopers begin to blast. And the camera stays on one trooper for a few seconds longer than it otherwise would. Stormtroopers were very competent at the beginning of A New Hope, but by the end of the original trilogy, they were viewed as incompetent. And unfortunately, this became commonplace later in the franchise, with troopers always making bad tactical decisions and only being present for our heroes to defeat with ease. Accompanied with their bad aim, the franchise even becoming self-aware about this. I don't personally like seeing the Empire as non-threatening, even in Return of the Jedi, which is a film I enjoy overall. Star Wars has had many issues with lowering the stakes, and having the enemy not come across as intimidating lowers said stakes further, and makes the hero's victory less satisfying. Some people will joke about the opening of John Carpenter's The Thing, claiming the first character we see has useless aim, and cannot take care of the hidden threat. But in this film, we don't know what role this man had at his outpost, so it's entirely plausible that he is not an expert at utilising firearms. And if we factor in the 2011 prequel, It is confirmed that he was not a marksman. So the 1982 film didn't need to explain this, but his less than stellar aim has even more context. But in the Star Wars universe, these troopers are trained soldiers. If they are not taken seriously, it significantly reduces the tension in any given scene. The first season of Andor had already done a superb job at making the Empire seem like a major threat. Well, not only are they a major threat here, but that one trooper was able to take out Brasso, leading to an instant death. Brasso was not an insignificant character by any means. Many events in the first season do not happen without his input. And above all, he was a great friend to Cassian. As tragic as this scene is, the stakes have been firmly set in this first arc. BBY-3 is comparatively slower, but what it communicates is absolutely essential for the following arc. There were mentions of Gorman in the first season and in the previous arc, which establishes the Empire's motivation. They want to mine calcite from the planet for a certain project. But these episodes will really delve into the history of Gorman. We will also see the rebellion presence that Cyril manages to infiltrate and extract information from. Cassian will later meet them as well and conclude they are underprepared. Eventually, Vel and Cinta take charge and carry out a heist. With the group not being as professional and with one rebel having a blaster, which he wasn't supposed to have, Cinta loses her life. Another devastating death in this season, and unfortunately, this is only the beginning. BBY-2 presents us with the rising tensions on Gorman, and with Dedra now being there, Cassian travels over from Yavin with the objective of taking her out. The people of Gorman begin to protest, and at first it may seem good they are standing up for themselves, but unfortunately, they are marching straight into a trap. In amongst all this, Cyril is questioning what's going on, and begins to hurt Dedra until he gets his answer.
There's a stone. Something in the dirt here. They need it.
Back at the protest, an Imperial sniper takes out one of his own. If the Empire can sell the story that the Gormans attacked first, it gives them an excuse to open fire. Cyril is devastated on the plaza. The realization of what he's been part of this whole time is quickly catching up with him. In a matter of moments, his perception of the Empire, Order, and Dedra comes tumbling down. Cyril's journey in this series is a sad one to look back on. There was certainly part of him that's evil, as we saw with him hurting Dedra, but there was also good in him as well, and if channeled into the right things, he could have made a positive impact in the galaxy. Many will claim that his dedication as a deputy inspector was selfishly driven, and that he was using it as a way to climb the ladder. Although I agree that is part of it, I also believe Cyril genuinely cared about those two officers that were killed on Milana 1, and wanted to see justice served. He was disappointed with how his boss felt, and equally as disappointed with most of his co-workers. His determination here shows that he cared about the deaths of his colleagues, even if he's looking to advance his career and seek glory in the process. Those things can simultaneously be true. And this was a clever way of introducing his character because he is the very antithesis of Cassian. When we first meet Cassian in Rogue One, he kills an informant to protect rebel intelligence. And when we first meet Cassian in Andor, he kills two corpo officers to save his own skin. Ultimately, Cassian is not your typical protagonist and Cyril is not your typical antagonist. The rebellion may be good overall, and the Empire might be evil overall, but it's much more nuanced when you look at those individual foot soldiers. And I very much appreciate this maturity in the writing.
Cyril is a romantic character, maybe the most romantic character in the show. That guy could go, his fantasies could be anything. And he buys into this fascist, imperial mindset and when everything. This whole cathedral he builds inside himself is all about that, and Dedra and everything else. And when that comes crashing down, that's really sad to me.
Cyril spots Cassian on the plaza, and proceeds to launch himself at him before Dedra can be assassinated. After a pretty brutal fight, Cyril has a gun on him.
Who are you?
After just questioning his whole purpose, Cyril realizes the man he's been chasing doesn't even know who he is. The instant death makes his story even more tragic. Towards the end of the episode, Wilman says this to Cassian.
Tell people what happened here, Cass.
There is a theme of loss with many of these arcs. Sadly, what's happened has happened. But now there is a chance for the story to be told, for the truth to get out there. And Mon Mothma has an opportunity to do that. The soundtrack that plays during her speech is the same one that plays during Marva's, and the words are just as impactful.
My name is Marva Carassi Andor.
I stand before you this morning with a heavy heart.
I was 6, I think. First time I touched a funerary stone.
I came here as a child, and as I look around me now, I realize I have almost no memories that predate my arrival.
We've been sleeping.
I believe we are in crisis.
I've been turning away from a truth I wanted not to face.
Of all the things at risk, the loss of an objective reality is perhaps the most dangerous.
We let it grow, and now it's here.
This Chambers, hold on the truth, was finally lost on the Gorman Plaza.
The Empire is a disease that thrives in darkness.
The monster who will come for us all soon enough is Emperor Palpatine.
During both these speeches, Cassian had an objective to rescue someone. Superb speeches, satisfying escapes. But for every uplifting moment in this series, there is a heartbreaking one to accompany it. And sadly, this arc ends with Bix leaving Yavin without Cassian. Her reason for this is that he's too important for the rebellion and she doesn't want him to quit for her sake. And another reason for this is because she's not in Rogue One. And it would be a tad strange if she was in the background, but Cassian never said goodbye. But this is a good way of writing a prequel. Better Call Saul is an excellent prequel because knowing the outcome of Breaking Bad makes all those glimpses of hope and opportunities for redemption painful to watch. Halo Reach is an excellent prequel because despite knowing it's a suicide mission, it's the journey that makes it all impactful. And Andor is of course an excellent prequel as well. The decision here ensures good continuity. And the fact we already know Cassian's fate and know him and Bix will never be together again adds to this scene. It does not devalue it by any means. Plus it makes it a little less awkward when Cassian starts eyeing up Jyn in the elevator. BBY1 does not hang about. After years of trying to figure out his identity, the ISB are finally onto Luthen. And Dedra corners him at the shop.
All that time, hiding in the shelter of imperial peace and quiet.
Freedom scares you.
Freedom. You don't want freedom. You want chaos. Chaos for everyone but you.
I find this conversation fascinating. It somewhat reminds me of that yin-yang connection between Cassian and Cyril. Even though one side is ultimately good and the other bad, to be honest, the idea of either of these two having any kind of power is quite concerning to me. Luthen may advocate for freedom, but where was Lonnie's freedom? And yes, he is condemned to use the tools of his enemies in order to defeat them, but even so, killing Lonnie for being a loose end is cold no matter how you splice it. Dedra may claim that she just wants a little bit of order in the galaxy, but everything on Gorman goes against that very idea. Despite Luthen's moral greyness, he is at the very least consistent with his principles, as he stabs himself knowing he too is now a loose end. This does not kill him, but he is moved to a hospital in critical condition. So it's Clea's mission to infiltrate the hospital and spare Luthen from the inevitable ISB torture. In between these scenes we have multiple flashbacks with Luthen and a young Clea. This could be seen as a cheap way of getting in some last-minute character development, but I would say the contrast of the past and the present is extremely effective, and a good storytelling method that we've seen before. The flashbacks tell us that she wasn't quite a surrogate daughter to him, given the priority of the rebellion. However, because of the path they went down, the closest either of them had to a family member was each other, making this final goodbye an emotional scene. The ISB are now after Clea, so it's up to Cassian, Melshi, and most importantly, K2SO to save her. These scenes are awesome. They contain action, horror, and comedy all in one.
Cassian, I've cleared a path.
Clea is safely moved to Yavin. All the information about Galen Erso has been passed along, so all the pieces are now in place. Season 2 ends with Cassian strutting his way into Rogue One, and it's his sacrifice in that film that provides the rest of the galaxy with a new hope. As odd as this may sound, Andor proves that the idea for a TV series really doesn't matter. It is entirely about the execution. A lot of people questioned, why do we need a whole backstory about Han Solo? But there's no reason why that film couldn't have been just as good as The Empire Strikes Back. We certainly didn't need a whole series about the guy that helped with stealing the Death Star plans, but I'm incredibly happy that we did. We didn't need a backstory for Mon Mothma. Her brief appearance in Return of the Jedi and subsequent appearances in later Star Wars media did the job just fine, but she went on to be one of the most interesting characters in this series and even a lot of people's favourite. Splitting up both seasons into 4 main arcs gives Andor a brilliant structure, because whilst we are focused on the current plotline, the next one is slowly brewing in the background. A series such as The Wire also does this to great effect. At first it can be a little bit jarring watching the story go from street level drug gangs to corruption at a shipping dock, but really this helps broaden the universe and our understanding of it. And much like Andor's final scene, The Wire closes out with a montage showcasing where all our characters end up, presenting how much has changed since the beginning, but also how much has stayed the same. The perfect way to condense down all the aspects you loved about the series and tying them all together. You can tell an unlimited amount of stories in the Star Wars universe, but none of them will live up to the brilliance of Andor.